as our special guest Maggie McKee. She is from Vancouver in Canada, and lovely lady, Maggie. Charlotte and I, we both met you at the Royal Alliance conference, and yeah, that's the other thing. This Charlotte from Rønnedam from Denmark, and me, Annika Haga from Norway, with the coordinators for organizers for the webinar. Anyway, Maggie, you, prior to Nikken, you worked as an educator for very many years, a total of 26 years, and you were both in high school and college level. And then in 1998, you quit that position, and since then you've been working full-time as a Nikken consultant. So, Charlotte, we are really excited to hear more of Maggie's story, and then, yeah, I'll leave it over to you, Charlotte and Maggie, to hear your story.
Thank you. First of all, we'll welcome you, Maggie, to the call.
Thank you.
I'm very glad and pleased to have you here. Like always, we always have a prior call with our guest speakers to get you to know you a little bit better, and that is a pleasure always. And yeah, it's always interesting to have people on that have been working with Nikken for a long time and had a lot of experience. So as we learned at the Royal Alliance this year, it's good that we have all you great ladies so we can pick your brains. So this is what we're going to do today. I'm going to pick your brain and see if I can be clever after this, and hopefully everybody who's listening in get something with them as well. So first of all, I will start with your story. Could you briefly tell your story? Why did you change from being an educator to this?
Gladly, and thank you to you gals for inviting me on this call. I am so excited. I've been telling everybody I'm going to be on this international call, and these cool women that I met at the Royal Alliance. I've been doing this, and it's just a really great opportunity for us to support the entire global community of Nikken. So I just want to start out by saying thank you. I was introduced to Nikken in 1995, actually, when Nikken was only 20 years old. 3 years old in Canada, and it was my best friend who brought this to me because she knew that I had been suffering from chronic pain for 30 years. She herself had an 8-year issue, and using the Nikken Wellness Home products, within a week she was 90% better. So she really felt compelled to call me and say, I think I've found what you're looking for. And I was excited because I had been spending thousands of dollars and thousands of hours trying to get relief from a natural, source. I had had surgery, I had been prescribed drugs, and neither one of those were to my liking. So I flew down to Vancouver, where I now live, but I was living 500 miles north of here, and I was basically shown the wellness home concept. I had the demonstrations, and there was a part of me, intellectually, I don't think I quite grasped it, Charlotte, but I felt something, and it was something that was really hard to put into words. It just felt right, I guess I could say. So when she went through the whole 5 pillars of health and explained that it was more than just the products, that there was also an opportunity here to share this with other people and to become part of a global community and to be a business partner with her. And being Scottish and Irish, I love the fact that the income tax benefits were huge for having a home business, because we don't have too many ways to save on our taxes in Canada anymore, but a home business is certainly one of them. And when she showed me the contribution to society, I just felt that this was something I could really get behind, particularly the 5 pillars of health, because that resonated with the curriculum work I was doing at the college where I was a tenured professor. So everything fit. One of the biggest desires in my life at that time was to have more time with my family. It was hard for me. I lived remotely from them, and it was expensive and difficult to see them in holiday time. So everything lined up, and I just said yes, not knowing how, but just knowing that there was a huge yes from inside me that wanted me to take this adventure.
Yeah, but it is, and it is an adventure.
It is. So I wish we'd had the RI training back then. We now have this wonderful training program called Residual Income Training that I'm on and helping, coaching my team on. We didn't, but I did my best to find out, how to do this business. We didn't have the internet. It was much more difficult to get information to people. However, because I had such a huge desire and my health just kept getting better and better, and, I would have conversations with people before NECAN, and I would hear their pain. I would hear that they were hurting physically or financially or time-wise, and I didn't have a solution. So all I could do was listen and go, gosh, sorry to hear that. Now I had a vehicle that I could offer them, and that really excited me and motivated me to have conversations with people so that, I could show them a way that they could find a path to what they wanted. And so I did that in the very, very small cracks of time. I was drop dead busy. I had a full-time teaching position. I was developing curriculum. I was training staff. I was a full-time postgrad student in another province. I was going through divorce. 6 friends died in the first 6 months that I was in the business. Everything that could prevent me from, moving forward pretty much came on board. And I just kept going because to me it was a calling. So within 3 years of doing that, in the cracks of time while I was teaching, I built a business that was sustainable and it was, expanding and growing, and I was making more money than I was in teaching. So I just took this very bold step. I walked into the president's office and said, I quit. And he was stunned because people don't drop tenured, teaching positions. And it was the scariest thing I did and the best thing I ever did. I've never regretted that decision, although there have been times when I thought, what the heck have I done here? So for the last 16 and a half years, I guess, I've been free. And I love my life, and I love helping other people to get the vision that I think most people, they're looking for a way to change, but they don't know how. And we have that vehicle if it feels right for them.
Exactly. And as you said, a lot had happened since when you started.
Mm-hmm.
Like what we're doing now, that was not even in somebody's mind back then that would ever be possible. So we have a lot of extra tools today. But one thing I think hasn't changed, and that is what you talked about, like the storytelling, like what you just shared.
Yes.
And we know that women, especially, we tend to talk a lot. So, and we like to talk. So we just need to get our story straight and have something interesting to talk about. But why do you think like storytelling is so important for this business?
Well, I think it's important in life. I think, unfortunately, we've moved away from the tradition of storytelling. It used to be before we had books and so on. That was the way information was passed on. That's the way people understood who they were and what life was all about. So we've become a little over-sophisticated, I think, in the sense that we forget how powerful stories are. But stories, I remember some of the stories that were told to me as a child growing up on the farm. I remember, the excitement hearing the stories about my grandparents who'd passed on and what, how we got this farm and all of that. And I think that there's a part of all of us, urbanized or not, that really, really resonates at a deep spiritual level with the story. You look at the classics, they're all stories with heroes and heroines. And we get to make our own story and become our own heroine and share that with others to inspire others. So I think that's why storytelling is so powerful.
Yeah, actually interesting. Like, yeah, we want to be like the heroes or heroines. So yeah, got to remember that one. Yeah, and it fits all together. Now that we need to talk about, or not don't need, but want to talk about the product and of course the experience that we get with the product. As you said, you in the beginning you might not be able to explain what's happening. It's just something is changing inside you, and that is, you said that you really I don't know, you didn't say fell in love, but a lot of people do that with like the 5 pillars of health, like Isamu Masuda's vision.
Yes.
And we talked a lot about that last time, like that it had a higher meaning, not just to have good products, but having the whole vision about the 5 pillars of health. And that's a story in itself. So why do you think his vision, his story is important for Nikken as a company?
Well, there's so much about Mr. Masuda's story, and those people who are newer to the business have not had the privilege of meeting him perhaps like I have and really hearing the story, but it's worth knowing that it's a universal story really, because it's the story of the hero. One man decided to make some changes in his life because the direction that his life was taking was not what he wanted his future to be. And I think that was true of my life when I became part of Nikken. So I think it's a pretty universal story that there comes a point many times in our lives where we think, I need to do something different. Now, he created Nikken out of his vision of making the world a better place, but primarily it was to help himself and his family have better health and better finances. And to pass that on to the world, he needed to put it into some kind of tangible format. So the 5 pillars of health, which is what his mother's mantra to him was when he was growing up, became the foundation, the philosophy for Nikken that he has paid forward to us. And again, that's a universal philosophy. We all want, healthier bodies, minds, families. We want to live in healthier societies, and we want to have healthier finances. So it's not like it's a new concept, but it's a vehicle for people to use to create their own story, their own success in all of those pillars, or just one pillar if they choose. If they choose just the healthy body, that's great. That's made a difference in their life, in the lives of their families, and therefore in the lives of the world. So Mr. Masuda's legacy goes way beyond that, because we are now, we're just part of this bigger story that's being created. When Mr. Masuda was interviewed by Mike DiMuccio a few years ago and asked if he thought at the beginning that it was ever going to get as big as it was at the point that Mike interviewed him, he said no, he had no idea. So I think that's important for us to embrace too. I had no idea. 20 years ago when I looked at this, I had no idea what the impact was going to be. I just knew there was something calling me. And so my wish is that, I'm able to inspire others to create their own vision within that and to move forward in a way that makes everything shinier, everything in those 5 pillars of health, whatever, makes their life more vibrant, more exciting.
Yeah. And it's, when you say vibrant, I think of energy, and energy is like what we're into, universal, but also the products is energy medicine, and like when we should put this together, you said that, but it's all about creating synergy.
Yes.
Could you elaborate a little bit how you see the whole synergistic thing in what we are doing?
Yeah, synergy is a word that I came across recently, and I don't know how many people are familiar with it. When you Google it, it has some other connotations that I think have just been created for different reasons. But the true meaning of synergy and the root story around synergy is that it's like a beehive. It's all is one and one is all. So you don't have one ruler, even though you have the queen bee. Without everybody else, she's nothing. So the queen bee, let's say in Nikken, is the vision, and that vision doesn't have power and influence to change the world without everyone in Nikken being part of that mission, and everybody is equally important. That's so counter to the way society has been structured for us over the last few millennia, where it's been all about hierarchy, and there's somebody greater than me, and there's, I have to bow down to this or to that. In Synergy, it's shared leadership, but not just from a intellectual perspective. It's shared leadership in the spiritual aspect of we are conscious beings, we are part of something that is way bigger than ourselves. And so if we become part of this in a very selfless way, in a sense, in a spiritual context, that's where true change comes. And I really see Nikan as a brilliant vehicle for that, because that's really what happens for people. I had the most interesting conversation with a person who is not part of my team, and we were helping her because that's what we do. And she had a really hard time grasping the idea that somebody who wasn't going to gain financially from her success, why we would be wanting to help her.
Yep.
And so I was excited to be able to explain to her that that is what is probably one of the most fascinating concepts of how we do business, is that it's about cooperation. It's about, a rising tide raises all ships, because when we don't see boundaries, when there's no territories and there's no difference between Denmark and Norway and Canada and Israel and, Japan, the whole thing, when we get rid of those divisions, and we surrender to spirit rather than running everything from ego and tradition and what we've been brainwashed to believe is the way the world works, we've got magic. And to me, that's the most inspiring thing about being part of this, is it's not about me. I'm an important part of it, yes, but I am only important in the sense that I create a bigger energy, a bigger presence, a bigger love that we can offer to the world.
Yeah. Oh, it is. And I think the first time I really felt that was when I attended one of the big events, and the first one was the Royal Alliance event, and seeing people, Royal Diamonds from the States, saying, and you could actually feel that they meant, if you ever need my help, just call me up, we'll figure something out. And just like, yeah, you're just saying it. But no, it's actually true. And I know that these big events are important. They change a lot. We talked about that also, that for you, you attended one, was it some couple of years ago or something like that, where
yeah, many years ago. Yeah.
Where you were called to the Reed Nelson's room. That's like one of the breakout sessions.
Yes.
To learn or to get ideas how to get to the next level. Tell us a little bit about that instead of me repeating
Absolutely,
it.
sure. Yeah, well, the first big event I went to that I could get to, because when you work full time, it's really hard to get to big events, but not impossible. So I finally made it to a big event. That was probably in 1996 or 7, and it totally blew my vision bigger. I mean, I got it at some level in the small town I lived in and so on, and coming to Vancouver and so on, but this was like, wow. Standing in line with, with people who now are diamonds and royal diamonds, and at the time were golds and platinums, and having conversations that were not anything about, any division. It was about, we're in this together kind of thing, and I love that. So I have made a commitment to be at every big event that I possibly can be at. So the Royal Alliance, when that formed, I was very excited about that, because like you, I felt that the coming together of the diamonds and royal diamonds in North America to work synergistically together was part of this vision that I have about what Nikan's about in the world. So I've been to each one of those, and 2 years ago, I believe it was, when I was a platinum, we were invited up to Reed's suite, and we just, we were encouraged to focus on moving towards diamond, and a group of us just kind of collected together and decided to form a mastermind group. And I'd been a part of a mastermind team for many, many years, inspired originally by my friend Dr. Rob Mason, who unfortunately died a year and a half ago, but I was on a mastermind team with him for 10, 12 years, and other people came and went. So I was excited to find another group of people that I could really resonate with. So out of that 6 or 7, 4 of us have continued on every week and every big event since. And so Peg DeRoche, CJ McCarthy, Madeline Zaworski, and myself are all part of this really exciting group of women who share ideas, support each other, laugh, have fun together, love each other, and it's been huge for me. I highly recommend that everyone becomes part of a small group like that, because being a solopreneur, working from home can become kind of a lonely experience, and it's so important to stay close to the fire, to be inspired by others, to be inspiring to others, and to remind ourselves daily that the vision here is way bigger than our little, or at least I should say my little times of self-pity when, I'd rather not do some of the things that I know I need to do, as in any business. So masterminding is brilliant, in my opinion.
Yeah, and then what you said is like it keeps you, or it keeps it top of mind. Like, okay, when you start talking to people, then it doesn't seem that big of a problem. Like when I have these calls, or we have a leader call with our mentors, and they're like, you get all fired up again. So it's important, because we are doing this solo, even though we are in teams. We are alone quite a bit. It's easy to drop down, and it can be easy to stay down.
Yes.
In that, I didn't do something yesterday, so it doesn't matter if I do something today. So I think mastermind group could definitely be something. And lucky that you found somebody that had the same goals. I know that you have promised each other to stay together.
Yes.
All the way to Royal Diamond.
Yes, and beyond, probably. I mean, we have just become such good friends, and when I have an in-home here, I'll often have CJ come in from Colorado. It's a little too late for the folks on the East Coast to come into my in-home, but I can call them and do 3-ways. It's a brilliant support system, and none of us are financially connected. We're all in different organizations, so it's great to have that. That too adds to our own bank of knowledge, hearing from other people.
Yeah, and actually I think that can be pretty important, that you're not in the same group, or at least some kind of cross line. You can have the same upline, but that you're not upline downline, because then you don't have any expectations. Now she wants this out of me, or something like that. No, you can talk freely on every call. You don't have to be shy or anything.
Exactly.
So do you use it a little bit like accountability at the same time, or is it more to get inspiration? Because some people also have accountability partners.
Yes, it's part of that, and we would do that individually, like in twos, not on the mastermind call. The mastermind call itself is more for sharing ideas, asking for support, putting out a challenge so that we can all mastermind that together. And other thing I love about the RI training is the accountability that's built into the build tab in the back office there, so that I can be accountable to myself, because that's really what accountability is. And I can share that with because all of these gals are on that same program. We're all being mentored at the moment by one of the RI trainers, so we share that. So that's a type of accountability, and we're also on a inner circle call with Dennis Estes, and there's accountability there. So no shortage of accountability.
No, but as you said that the accountability part to yourself often can be the most difficult one, because you have to look yourself in the mirror every day, and be happy with what you see, not just physically, but also what your mind tells you.
Yes.
If you did what you actually promised yourself to do, and that leads me to, like, that's also kind of commitment, that you need to commit to the goals that you set yourself. Or yeah. How do you see the importance of commitment, and how do you get people to find their own commitment? Because it's not about what we want people to do, but what they what they want.
Exactly. And well, I often tell the story that we hear at Humans Being More about commitment, and where the fellow goes down on his knee and he says to his girlfriend, you know, I promise to be 80% faithful to you. Will you marry me? And of course, everybody laughs. And then he says, okay, 90%. He gets right up to 99%, and people are still laughing because there's no such thing as 99% commitment. It has to be 100%, or you're not going to get where you're going to go, right? So that's a very powerful story, again, that illustrates the importance of commitment. And I love what you said, Charlotte, that I can't commit somebody else. They need to be inspired by their own goals and aspirations to be committed to that. And, you know, we don't have very good commitment muscles in Western society. You know, I don't know what it is about our lifestyle, but it's pretty easy to let myself off the hook because, you know, I'm my own boss and I can do what I want kind of thing. I get that kind of rebel streak in me once in a while. And so I have to step back from that and look at those excuses as, hey, I must be making excuses for some reason. And it's usually because there's some subconscious fear happening there.
But then again, that might help when you then have somebody you're accountable for or to, or having a mentor.
Yes.
So that you can, like, keep on track. Again, this is not a solo business. We have people around us, so we just need to surround us with the right people as well. Yeah.
That is so important. I mean, I look at some people who are new in the business who are in an environment that is not particularly supportive. And it's very challenging. So what I encourage them to do is to, you know, hang around with people who support your goals, not those who are trying to say, well, that's silly, don't do this. Find a core of like-minded people, and it can even be virtually. There's so much now we can do online. So that, like our mastermind team, there is absolutely no doubt in my mind that every one of those women, each one of us is so committed to the other person's success, and we can be ourselves, and we can also see sometimes what the other person can't see. So we're completely supportive. We'll hold each other's feet to the fire if necessary, if with permission. But that is so critical. When I think about what my life used to be like and the people I was surrounded with, there were some great people there. However, most of them didn't understand why I would leave a tenured position as a professor to do this. So it was really important for me to have a support group in NECAN, and not all in NECAN, but people who really, no matter what, said, you go for it.
Exactly. And a lot of people have told us also that, yeah, there will be somebody in your closest range of people, friends, that might not be there in a couple of years because of what you're doing and because you change. You mentioned Humans Being More, and that is the best self-development course I ever seen and heard about, and of course attended. And it do a lot to you, and also just the NECAN business. My sponsors told me, of course, she loved the products. You can't be in the business if you dislike the products. But she said one of the best products is actually the self-development you go through, how you change along the way, and that's also why you don't become Royal Diamond overnight. because you need to learn the skills along the way. And yeah, that just reminds me of the statement that you gave me, that you can't take the rank to the bank. And I really thought about that, because can't take the rank to the bank. No, he wouldn't understand that. It was my first idea. But yeah, it's true. It doesn't matter if you're silver, gold, platinum, diamond. It's only a title. You could be vice president in a company, but if they don't have any money, you don't get paid, then you can't get anything on just being a vice president. And the same in Nikken. So really, it helped me a lot, saying, okay, it's better to do something with the rank you're at, and build it solid, instead of just saying, no, I'm climbing to the top, and what now? We have a song in Danish that is so cold on the top, Mom. So what should I do here? So it is. It can be lonely up there if you forget to build the right way. And you mentioned it before, but I'll just go around to it again. The importance of your team, having like-minded people around you, and you said that you were helping your team at the moment with the RI training and things like that. And I think by that you also use ABCs.
And the reason I started to do that, I didn't embrace ABCs when I started this business. Again, it was that old thinking that I've had to let go of to be successful, that, if it's going to be, it's up to me, and, if I have to ask questions, then I'm showing I don't know the answer, so therefore I'm stupid or whatever. So it took me a long time to understand the importance of ABCs. And now it's just a natural part of what I do when I'm introducing people to Nikken, for many reasons. One, because it works. Third-party credibility has always been way more powerful than one person telling another. But I love introducing people to the people that I love in Nikken. So it's always a joy. I was sitting at a sidewalk cafe the other day with a young fellow who's very interested in Nikken, and so he's young. He's about the same age that Michael DiMuccio was when he started Nikken in Canada. So I said, hey, just let me get my friend Mike on the phone here. And so I called Michael up, and I had to hand over the cell phone because there was too much street noise for me to listen. But I know I've had enough three-ways with Mike that I know that he is so inspiring. And this young fellow was just, his face was lit up from what Michael was sharing about his journey. And this fellow's from Mexico, and how Michael had helped get Mexico launched and so on. So it's not only effective, it's fun, and it's being more of service to the other person than I could be by myself. So it's part of that synergy again, that we're all, one is all and all is one, and introducing people to that community is a really good way for them to see that this is a place they'd like to hang out in.
Yeah, and now you said that you love to introduce people. We always ask every woman that we have on the call, what is your pitch, or do you have a pitch? When you, and it's because normally say, no, it depends on the situation, and of course it does. But if you met me somewhere, coffee shop, wherever, party, didn't know each other, and I got to ask you first, so Maggie, by the way, what do you do? What is it? Before you were a teacher, or you were a professor or something, you had a title. What is your title now? What are you going to answer me?
Yeah, I say different things, but generally I say, I am so excited because I am a wellness consultant with an amazing company that started in Japan 40 years ago. What do you do?
Yeah.
So I give them something that maybe they can grasp, at least one word of that makes sense. And then I want to find out more about them before I tell them how this might be something that I can help them with. So if they ask me what do I do, I just answer as briefly as I can, and then I ask them what they do. Because that's so important. We have to create that rapport. We have to create that trust. We have to tell stories that that person can connect to, and we don't know what story is going to connect until we ask the questions, until we find out what's going on in their life, what would give them even more joy, and what would bring more light to their life than they already have now.
Yeah. So you ask and hope for a good, not a good answer, but an answer that you can get, so you can ask some more questions, so dig
Right.
deeper.
Right, and I think one of the most important things, Charlotte, is that when we say anything, we say it not just in our words, but from our heart. Like, I'm excited, and I'm excited to be a wellness consultant with a 40-year-old Japanese company. And sometimes I'll say a bit more, but normally it's not so much what I say, it's how I say it that comes across. Yep. I think that's important. You can memorize any script on the planet. However, unless that comes from a sincere place of service and love in your heart, the other person is going to be, a little bit standoffish or skeptical. What are you trying to sell me kind of attitude. So it's always invitation rather than any kind of instruction at that point.
Yeah. No, but that's, getting to know people, so know where to hit them, I was going to say, in a nice way.
Where to connect. Exactly.
Yeah, that was a better word. We also always ask our guests if you have any advice for the women listening in, what would it be?
I still believe, after almost 20 years, that the most important part of success in anything, whether it's NICAN or parenting or whatever you do, about your intention, your desire. You can learn the skills. The skills are not that difficult, and RI training really does look after that in a very wonderful way. But it's like, what juices you? What gets you up in the morning? What as my father would say, what cranks your tractor, And without that piece, we're kind of like these little automatons walking around offering NICAN, right? But when I come from that place of desire to be of service to the person I'm with, and even if they don't join me in NICAN, I just want to get to know that person. I want to make that connection that's already there. I want to be part of that synergy, that shared vision that you and I are human beings in a challenging world these days. And there may be something that is even more appropriate at the moment that I can offer you than NICAN. Okay, for instance, I have a great room in my condo complex here, and one of the people that I was talking with is looking for a place to hold events. I said, come and have a look at this. I can offer you this space. And, whether they become part of NICAN or not is totally down the road. But just being able to, be of service is so important for me. That's my juice.
You also recommend your favorite restaurant, so
absolutely.
So of course, if you have a room you could rent out for something, of course you will mention that to people. I think sometimes we forget that because we are so focused on, no, I need people to get better or join my business, instead of just really listening and using all the knowledge that we have picked up along our life. But time is flying. It always does. It's amazing how time flies when you're having fun. But do you have any last comments before we summarize a little bit and close it up for tonight?
Well, Robin Williams was one of my favorite actors, performers. And he said so many wonderful things. And I love so many of his movies, but I do remember Dead Poets Society because I was a teacher. And when he stands on top of that desk and he just says, seize the moment, do something magnificent. That's what our lives are about. They're about being that magnificence. And we just aren't encouraged enough to do that. That's what made him a spectacular teacher. And in Nikken, we have an opportunity to be absolutely magnificent and spectacular. So however you portray that, however that gift is yours to give to the world, be that. Like, really believe in yourself and, stay in that supportive environment and really grasp how huge what we're doing is, what an impact this is having on the world. We are the vehicle for world peace, in my opinion. So never forget how important each of us is, not as individuals, but as part of that beautiful mosaic that is Nikken. So that's what I would say.
Fantastic. Or what do you say, Annika? Are you blown away? All the way out.
You have a lot of nice things that you've been saying.
Thank you, Annika.
Can you hear me? Yeah?
Yes.
And like you said, we've got magic and we can pay it forward. That's what we have to do because we have something really special. And everybody has to shine. Like, you remember the song we played sometimes when we played over in Florida as well at the Royal Alliance conference. Mm-hmm. The one you've been playing sometimes, Charlotte.
Yes.
Shine bright like a diamond. So that's what we have to do, and I like that part of it. And also this, we all have to be very clear about our intentions and desires because a lot of people aren't really. And your background, I like the fact that you've been doing teaching, but you're still doing teaching. You're educating people on what we're doing now. This has to do with health and balance and so on. And you're using your storytellings and people have, women are good storytellers. Storytelling is important in our business. And what we can do with our business is leaving a legacy over time because of what we have. But we depend on each other. So the word synergy, I find that very interesting, that we all depend on each other to change the world. This is like shared leadership to get ahead and to leave something behind, and we have a possibility to do that with what we have, and helping each other in various ways with, supporting each other, having mastermind groups, etc., where we find inspiration. So you have a lot of really nice points there, and thank you very much for that. Very interesting, as always, that we have, special guests. So thank you, Maggie.
Thank you.
And a call I'm going to listen to again because when you're sitting here, you only get half of it. So please, everybody, go in and listen to it when we'll send out an email, and it will come on our Facebook page as well, so you can see the link there. But always, everything is on the Royal Alliance website, so you can always go back and listen to all the special guests that we have had so far. Must be 8, 9 people, something like that. And more to come. So please
Absolutely.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, and then also we have a special silent partner whom we'd like to thank as well because we're using Dave Johnson's systems, and then McKenzie does a lot of helping with setting everything up. So we'd like to thank her as well for being part of this. Yeah. Everybody have a great evening, and thank you for listening in, and stay tuned, as Charlotte said, for what comes next of webinars, and for listening to this again and sharing the link when it comes to you, or you find it via the Facebook page. So yeah, that's it. And thank you, Maggie.
Thank you.
Change the world. So.
Yes. Yeah.
And have a nice day, evening, wherever you are in the world.